Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Sophie, and today we're talking about something that almost every English learner feels in their body before they even feel it in their mind. That moment when someone looks at you and you know you have to speak, but your brain just freezes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leo. And yes, that silence feels so loud, right? You're not out of words forever. You just need a few seconds. But those seconds feel impossible to find.
Exactly. And today's topic is all about that. How to buy time while speaking English. Not in a fake way, not in a stressful way, but in a calm, human way.
Because native speakers do this all the time, but no one teaches it to learners. We think silence means failure, but actually, silence just means you're thinking.
And if you've ever felt nervous, embarrassed, or small because you needed time to think in English, this episode is for you. You're not slow, you're normal.
We'll share real moments, simple phrases, and small habits that help you stay confident even when your English isn't ready yet.
If you enjoyed this episode, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us continue.
And don't forget, there's a PDF with the full conversation waiting for you.
Let's take a breath together and start. Leo, I want to start with a moment I remember very clearly. I was living abroad, speaking another language, and someone asked me a simple question at work. I knew the answer in my head, but not in that language. My mouth was empty, my heart was racing, and I felt like everyone could see my panic.
I can really relate to that feeling. For me, it happened during a video call. The manager asked for my opinion, and suddenly, all the English I knew disappeared. I smiled, nodded, and inside I was screaming, just give me 5 seconds.
And the worst part is that we think we're the only ones who feel this way. We think other learners speak smoothly all the time, but that's not true at all.
Not at all. Most people don't struggle with English itself. They struggle with the pressure to respond immediately. There's this idea that if you pause, you look weak or unprepared.
Yes, but in real life, pauses are normal. Even in our own language, we pause. We think, we repeat ourselves. We just don't notice it.
That's why buying time is such an important skill. It's not about lying or pretending. It's about giving your brain a small bridge between listening and speaking.
I love that idea, a bridge. And the good news is, there are very simple expressions that act like that bridge. For example, one of my favorites is, let me think for a second. It sounds natural, polite, and confident.
Yes, and it sends a clear message. I'm thinking, not stuck. Another useful one is, that's a good question. When you say this, you're not only buying time, you're also showing interest.
And we should say something important here. Buying time is not cheating. Native speakers do this constantly. They say things like, or, well, or, without even thinking.
Exactly. Learners often feel they must speak in perfect sentences right away. But communication is not a test. It's a shared moment.
I remember once I started using the phrase, how can I explain this? It helped me so much. Even if my explanation wasn't perfect, people waited. They listened.
That phrase is powerful because it invites patience. It tells the listener, stay with me. Another simple one is, what I mean is, this is great when you start a sentence and realize it's not going well.
Oh yes, that one saved me many times. I would start speaking, feel lost, then say, what I mean is, and restart calmly.
And that's something learners need to hear. You're allowed to restart. You're allowed to correct yourself. That doesn't make you bad at English. It makes you human.
I think a lot of fear comes from school experiences. We were taught that silence means we don't know the answer.
True, but real conversations are not exams. No one is giving you a score. Most people just want to understand you.
Let me ask you something. When someone pauses while speaking to you, do you judge them?
Honestly, no. I usually don't even notice. And if I do, I just think they're choosing their words carefully.
Exactly. But when it's us, we feel exposed. We feel like everyone is watching the clock.
That's why learning these small time-buying expressions can change everything emotionally. They reduce panic, they slow your heart down.
And once your body calms down, your English comes back. Not perfect English, but real English.
I want to say something important here. You don't need 10 expressions, even 2 or 3 are enough if you really use them.
Yes, it's better to master a few and feel comfortable than to memorize many and forget them under stress.
And practice them out loud. Say them when you're alone. Say them in front of the mirror. Make them automatic.
Because in real conversations, you don't have time to search your memory. Your mouth needs to move on its own.
Exactly. And once these phrases become natural, silence stops feeling scary. It becomes part of your rhythm.
And that's where confidence slowly grows. Not from perfect grammar, but from knowing you can handle the moment.
I think that's a beautiful place to pause for now.
Yes, and we'll continue from here next time.
Last time, we talked about how silence feels scary and how buying time can calm your body and mind. I want to go a little deeper now, because this fear doesn't come only from language. It comes from emotions we carry into the conversation.
I agree. Many learners are not afraid of English words. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid someone will think they're not smart or not professional.
Exactly. I remember a moment at a cafe. The barista asked me something unexpected, and I didn't catch it. Instead of asking again, I panicked and answered something random. I left feeling embarrassed, not because of my English, but because I didn't give myself time.
That's such a common story. And there's a very simple expression that could help in that moment. Sorry, could you say that again? It sounds polite, confident, and completely normal.
Yes, and we should explain this clearly. Asking someone to repeat is not a weakness, it's communication. Native speakers ask this all the time, especially in noisy places.
Another helpful one is, I didn't quite catch that. The phrase quite catch simply means fully hear or understand. It sounds natural and friendly.
And when you use these expressions, something interesting happens. The pressure moves from you to the conversation. It becomes shared.
That's such an important point. Communication is not a performance. It's a shared responsibility.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your mind goes blank even though you know the topic well?
All the time, especially when emotions are involved. If the topic is personal or if I really care about giving a good answer, my brain suddenly slows down.
Same here. In those moments, I've learned to use phrases like, let me put it this way. This gives me a second to organize my thoughts.
I love that one. It means I'm about to explain this in my own words. And again, it signals confidence, not confusion.
I'm not sure how to say this in English, but this one is very honest.
Yes, and honesty builds connection. When you say that, people usually listen more carefully. They become patient.
That's because most people remember learning something difficult themselves. They understand struggle more than we think.
I once had a colleague who spoke very simple English, but she always said, "Give me a moment," and no one ever rushed her.
That's a great example. It's short, polite, and powerful. It clearly asks for time without apology.
And that's important too. You don't always need to say sorry. Pausing is not something wrong.
Exactly. Overusing sorry can make you feel smaller than you are.
Let's talk about fillers for a moment. Words like well, so, or many learners are afraid to use them.
Yes, they think fillers are mistakes, but fillers are actually tools. They help your speech sound natural and give you time.
Well, I'm thinking, or my answer is a bit complex.
So can help you start when you're not ready yet. It gently opens the sentence.
Is often used to check connection, like saying, "Are you with me?"
The key is not to overuse them, but to allow them. They are part of real speech.
I want to share a small habit that helped me. When I felt stuck, I would repeat part of the question before answering.
That's a great strategy. For example, if someone asks, "What do you think about working remotely?" you can start with, "What do I think about working remotely?" and then continue.
Exactly. Repeating buys time and shows you're engaged. It also helps your brain stay on topic.
And this works especially well in meetings or interviews.
Another expression learners find useful is from my point of view. It gives you a clear start.
Yes, and point of view simply means opinion. It sounds structured, but it's still simple.
I think what we're really saying here is that fluency is not speed. Fluency is flow.
That's such an important sentence. Speaking slowly with confidence is much better than speaking fast with fear.
And listeners usually prefer clarity over speed.
Let me ask you, Sophie, what changed for you when you stopped being afraid of pauses?
I felt lighter. I stopped fighting myself. I realized I didn't need to impress anyone. I just needed to communicate.
And that mindset shift is huge. When you stop trying to be perfect, you start being present.
And presence makes your English feel alive.
I think many listeners need to hear this today. You're allowed to take space in a conversation.
You're allowed to think.
You're allowed to pause.
And your English is still valid in those pauses.
That feels like a good place to stop for now.
Yes, let's continue next time and talk about real-life situations where buying time really matters. Today, I want us to talk about real-life situations because this is where buying time really changes everything. Not in theory, but in those moments when your heart suddenly beats faster.
Yes, like phone calls. Phone calls are one of the hardest situations for English learners.
Absolutely. You don't see the other person's face, you can't read their body language, and silence feels even louder.
I remember my first work call in English. The other person spoke fast, and after one sentence, I was already lost. Instead of stopping them, I stayed quiet, hoping it would magically get easier.
And it usually doesn't. That's why a phrase like, "Sorry, I'm just checking I understand," is so helpful. It gives you control back.
That phrase is great because checking means you're being careful, not confused.
Exactly. Another one I often use on the phone is, "Could you give me a second to think?" It sounds calm and professional.
And people almost always say yes. That's something learners forget. Most people are not in a rush to judge you.
Let's talk about meetings, because that's another stressful place, especially when everyone is quiet and then suddenly someone says your name.
Oh yes, that moment when your name appears and your brain goes empty.
In those moments, starting with, "Let me start by saying," can help a lot. It gives you a strong opening.
And while you're saying that, your brain is already preparing the next sentence.
Exactly. It's like warming up your engine.
That's something I've been thinking about, even if you've only thought about it for 5 seconds.
That's a good one. It sounds thoughtful and honest at the same time.
And if you really need time, you can say, "Can I come back to this in a moment?" This is very useful in group discussions.
Yes, and it shows awareness. You're not avoiding the question, you're managing it.
Another situation where buying time matters is small talk. People think small talk should be easy, but it can be stressful too.
So, how's everything going? That question is simple, but the answer can feel big.
In those moments, I often start with, well, overall. That word overall means in general.
That's a great explanation. It helps you answer without going into details immediately.
And if your sentence starts going in the wrong direction, you can pause and say, "Actually, let me rephrase that." Rephrase means say it again in a better way.
I love that phrase. It gives you permission to correct yourself without embarrassment.
Let's talk about interviews for a moment, because many listeners worry about this.
Yes, interviews are full of pressure, even in your own language.
One of the best phrases for interviews is, "That's an interesting question." It's simple, polite, and buys time.
And it also shows respect for the interviewer. You're engaging, not delaying.
Another helpful one is, "If I understand correctly, you're asking," then you repeat the question in your own words.
This does two things. It gives you time, and it makes sure you understood the question.
And interviewers usually like that because it shows clear communication.
I think it's important to say this clearly. Buying time is not about filling space with empty words. It's about staying connected.
Yes, silence with intention feels different from silence with fear.
That's such a good way to say it. An intention comes from confidence, not speed.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that when you slow down, people actually listen more?
Yes, many times. When I stopped rushing, my words felt more important, even if they were simple.
That's because calm speech creates trust.
I want to share one more personal story. I once said in a meeting, I need a moment to organize my thoughts. I was scared to say it, but no one reacted badly.
And how did you feel after?
Relieved, stronger, like I had taken care of myself instead of pushing myself.
That's powerful, and that's what buying time really is. It's self-respect in a conversation.
Yes, you're respecting your limits and your listener at the same time.
I think many learners believe confidence comes after fluency, but actually, fluency grows after confidence.
I completely agree. Confidence changes how your English sounds, even if your level stays the same.
And confidence often starts with one small sentence. Give me a moment.
Let me think.
How can I explain this?
These phrases are small, but they carry a lot of emotional weight.
And once you start using them, conversations feel less scary and more human.
I think we're getting close to something important here.
Yes! In the next part, I'd love to talk about mindset. What happens inside your head while you're buying time?
That sounds perfect. Let's continue there.
In this last part, I want us to slow down and look inside the mind of an English learner. Because buying time is not only about words, it's also about what you tell yourself during those seconds.
Yes, because while your mouth is saying, let me think for a moment, your mind is often saying something very different. It might be saying, I'm bad at English, or I'm taking too long.
And those thoughts can be louder than the conversation itself.
I used to be very hard on myself. Every pause felt like proof that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't just thinking about the answer. I was judging myself while thinking.
That inner voice can be cruel, and the problem is, it steals the time you're trying to buy.
Exactly. So one important step is changing what you say to yourself in that pause. Instead of panic, you can think, it's okay to think. I'm allowed to take space.
That small change can make a big difference. Your body relaxes, your breathing slows, and suddenly your words come back.
I want to talk about breathing for a moment because it's connected to this. When we panic, we stop breathing deeply.
Yes, our breath becomes short and fast, and that makes thinking harder.
When you use a time-buying phrase, try to take one slow breath right after. Just one. It sounds simple, but it really helps.
It gives your brain oxygen and your emotions space.
Another mental habit that helped me was letting go of perfect sentences. I told myself, simple English is good English.
That sentence is so important. Simple English is clear. Simple English connects.
When you aim for perfection, you freeze. When you aim for clarity, you move forward.
And buying time supports that. It allows you to choose simple words instead of searching for perfect ones.
I also want to say this clearly. You don't owe anyone fast English.
That's such a strong statement. You really don't.
You owe honesty, effort, and presence. Speed is not part of the deal.
Many listeners might be thinking, but what if people lose patience? And that fear is real.
It is, but here's the truth. If someone is impatient with your pause, that says more about them than about you.
And most people are not impatient. They're busy with their own thoughts.
Exactly. We imagine judgment more than we experience it.
I want to share one last story. I was once in a group where my English level was the lowest. I spoke slowly and paused often.
That's a very vulnerable place to be.
It was, but I noticed something. People waited. They leaned in. My pauses made them listen more carefully.
That's beautiful. Your pauses gave your words weight.
Yes, and that taught me something important. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is calm.
And calm grows when you trust yourself, even in silence.
So if you're listening right now and you're afraid of pauses, I want you to try one thing this week.
The next time you feel stuck, don't rush. Choose one phrase you learned and use it. And remind yourself, I'm doing my best.
because that's enough.
Learning a language is a long journey, and every pause is part of that journey.
And you don't need to run through it.
You can walk, you can stop, you can think.
And your English will still be there.
Thank you for sharing this space with us today.
Thank you for listening and trusting us.
We're really glad you're here.